Welcome everyone. Hello and thank you for joining us for our first lunchtime talk of this academic year and our last Freshers event actually. It's really great to see you guys joining us on Facebook and YouTube. Just to introduce myself, my name is Esther. I am a third year biomed student and I am the outreach coordinator for the Southampton University Christian Union. And today we are joined by Emma Wiseman, who is going to be speaking on Fresh Start, how can I make the most of university? Just to let you know, we will be having a Q&A section at the end. So honestly, send in any questions, anything at all about anything, and Emma is very happily going to answer them. You can do this over Slido, and our event code is 78031, but I think the link is going to be posted. So yeah, Emma, can you please introduce yourself? Let us know a little about you.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Emma. I'm the student pastor for St Mary's Church in Southampton. It's the big kind of Church of England church, which is just down in St Mary's. Been around for about 2 years, so always lived in Southampton, and then graduated from university in 2019 from Nottingham Trent University. So kind of returned home, joined St Mary's when I got back, and have just slotted into the role of being a student pastor, which has been absolutely amazing.
Nice. And just like a quick question as well, earlier we were talking about summer, so you said you went travelling a little bit, so I just wondered, what was your favourite place to visit? Where did you go? Why did you like it?
Yeah, so I had my honeymoon in summer and we went down to the south of France. So we did the Pyrenees Mountains, which was probably absolute highlight. Pyrenees was amazing. Did some hiking, kind of travelled a bit around those sorts of areas. I mean, no one spoke any English, so it was a very amazing opportunity to learn French because I knew none before. So at least now I can kind of say that I don't understand French to French people, which is a great skill to have. But the Pyrenees was the best, yeah.
Oh, I'm very jealous that you actually went somewhere. That's really cool. Yeah, so I guess I'll just hand over to you now. Yeah, fire away, Emma. Go ahead.
Oh. Amazing. So yeah, I'm just going to be doing a talk on how can I make the most of university, or more, how can you make the most of university? So yeah, like I said, I've been in Southampton all my life, kind of lived here, went away to Nottingham University. So I can kind of relate to where you're all at the moment, as it was only me kind of only in 2019 finishing off my university experience. I mean, I can definitely say for myself that I didn't make the most of university. I studied sports science because not really knowing why I was studying it, but only that I was quite good and actually ended up being like enjoying it, which was an amazing kind of outcome. But I know the university has always been seen as the next chapter in our lives, kind of the best years of our lives. And I'm sure that you've been told that by friends or family members. It's when we really kind of become our adult selves and kind of morph into the person that we want to be, or what we kind of presume that our life's going to unfold to be. But obviously, what does that mean for us now? With Corona and the restrictions it's put on us as students, makes it even harder to make the most of university. We were all promised kind of a lifetime at university of socials and events and Zoom, other than the people who made Zoom. I mean, that'd be a very useful person to have on board, but sadly.
I mean, Josh is very good, so hopefully he'll be able to fix it in a second. But I mean, if people can hear me, I'll just do a couple shout outs. We've got Jemima watching. Hello, Jemima. We've got Alice May. Nice to see you, Alice. Thank you for joining. Oh, Jemima says it's working now.
Oh.
How's it? Josh, can you let us know? Is it better? Do you want us to just continue blabbing for a couple more minutes? Sure.
Nice.
Yes. And then we've got someone, but I don't know, they don't have a username, they're just 00. So nice to see you, whoever you may be. Very mysterious. Yeah, but I think, how many people have we got watching? We've got, I can't see that. Oh, we've got 15 watching, so that's really good. I hope you guys are having a nice lunch. Let us know if you're eating lunch.
Yeah. Esther,
What have you got
planned for lunch? What's your plans?
You know what I've got? I've got bagels, and I never used to be a bagel person, but I've been eating them every day this week, which is probably not very healthy. But I have this Philadelphia spread, and it's like a garlic and herb one, and it's so nice.
Oh,
that's what I put in.
I said delicious. It sounds amazing. Are they like the sesame seed bagels, or are they this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Got to have that. Have you got anything nice planned for lunch?
I actually made some turkey meatballs last night. I got a bit adventurous with my culinary skills, and I produced some. I'm trying to be a bit healthy, and someone told me one time that turkey is supposed to be healthy. So here we are. Okay. It's not Christmas, but turkey meatballs are here.
Why not?
Exactly.
Okay, Dan has said you are back. Thank you. That mysterious user has also said we are back, and Yaz has said we are back. So I presume it's all good to go again.
Amazing.
Emma, sorry for the interruption.
No worries.
Feel free to just kind of do it again or leave off, go from where you left off. Yeah, I'm going to pop off now.
So yeah, kind of going back into thinking about your university experience. It doesn't have to be rubbish, basically, this year. It just means that we need to be more intentional with how we're doing things with our lives than we had to be before, which isn't a bad thing. I kind of started off saying about setting a vision in place for us now, just to take some time. It might seem too early to be thinking about what sort of legacy you want to be leaving at university, or whether you want to be kind of leaving a legacy at all. But before you even start university experience, you need to look at the bigger picture and realise that you only have 3 years. You've got 3 or 4 years, unless you're a medic student, then 7. Good on you. You have 3 years in this place to create something that will set you apart, to build you up and develop you into the person that you want to be. You have these 3 years to establish yourself as a person, whether that's in academia, whether it's in what you're studying towards, whether it's in sport, and to form a purpose for your life in whatever direction that you plan to head down. I have 3 questions that I'd love for you to just ask yourself is, what sort of people do you want to be investing in and to be invested in by at university? What lifestyle do you want to be living in and living out in Southampton while you're here? And what do you want to incorporate more into your life during these 3 or 4 years? That could be whether it's a daily rhythm, whether it's a pattern, whether it's just being more intentional with someone or a characteristic. What do you want to incorporate more into your life at the moment? The first kind of thing to thinking about who do you want to invest in and be invested in by, is to think about your friendships. I know and can imagine it's, for most of you, that surrounding yourself and making good friends is one of the biggest stresses that you may have at the moment. As being here for the next 3 or more years without your family, moving out for the first time, whether that is true or not, everyone wants and needs the security of good friends and good community. But what happens when you don't get along with your flatmates? I mean, I can vouch that was definitely me. Or you can't meet your course mates in person in big groups how you would plan to. I just have some tips kind of to share with you guys just for having more meaningful, intentional relationships in the current situation that we're in, and how to make the most of your friendships at university. Now, kind of the main one, which I know is probably talked about a lot, is to join a society. There are so many weird and wonderful societies to join. I mean, I remember at university there was a cocktail making club, and they basically just sat around making mojitos and sex on the beaches all day, every day, which just sounds like an absolute jolly. It wasn't something I thought I'd fit right into. But there are so many societies where you can build relationships with things in common, shared interests. And also finding a church is an incredible way to find a community through different societies, kind of finding someone like, oh, let's do this together. And a church that will invest time in you, allow you to grow in your faith and as a person with those that are around you who you've met with shared interests. I never fully joined a society, as I personally didn't think I was good enough for any of the societies that were open to me. But now looking back, there were so many things that I could have tried to be good at. I don't regret it, but I think looking back, there were so many skills I could have learned, so many things I could have trained in, like so many spaces just have developed myself, but I didn't take the opportunity. And so I think even if you don't think a society is for you because you don't have prior experience or you don't feel good enough, honestly, they are an incredible space to just learn. And I think if you have that passion and you come to a society with that passion, you are going to be welcomed in with open arms with the people who are like, I see in you the interest and the spark that you want to gain from this place. You have this opportunity now, and you have the time now to learn and to really graft yourself into something and mold yourself into something which is new, or just add on to yourself. The next kind of tip is highly recommend being the one to initiate conversations, initiate friendships, put yourself out there and just be spontaneous in what you're doing. When I was at university, I was so keen to play volleyball, and to be honest, it was I say that I joined the society, but I definitely didn't join the society. But I didn't want to go on my own in my first year. And so sat in a lecture, I kind of reached out to a girl who sat next to me who I hadn't met before. She was very cool, and just basically said if she wanted to do volleyball with me. Now, the irony of the story is that I actually quit after 4 months, and she ended up being the president in her third year. So I feel like I can at least say I helped her in her successes. But it was that reaching out, we stayed friends for the rest of the years. I kind of initiated that. We had a shared interest, which even though she continued and I didn't, we were able to kind of create this common ground of, we had this memory, we had this, just because I had the boldness to kind of reach out and talk to her. And just to put it in this way, if Jesus didn't initiate any relationships that he built with anyone, if he didn't start any of the amazing conversations that he had with people that ended up transforming their lives, then we wouldn't be here where we are today either. So kind of initiating those conversations, making those friendships, putting yourself out there will just lead to so many more avenues of different experiences while you're at university. And thirdly is, don't forget that we can still meet up one-to-one. Intentional conversations in someone's house, over coffee, over a cheeky shandy, or even just over lunch in a park is an amazing way to both show someone that you're invested in developing your friendship, as well as creating a deeper one through just learning about them, taking the time. Kind of having that intimate one-to-one connection and relationship is amazing for friendships. It just develops them so much more and actually leads to a much longer lasting friendship. Jesus met with so many of his disciples one-to-one, and that was where he had some really great personal conversations. It's also where you learn about hobbies, traits, what you have in common. So I'd highly recommend just keep doing those coffee dates, keep doing those times where it's just you and one other person, because it is invaluable time. And obviously, something you'll want to be more intentional about is your studies. I mean, you've got 3 years, guys. You may as well make it a priority at some point. But this, of course, is a big part of the university experience and is why we come to university in the first place. And it shouldn't be forgotten about with all the social elements that kind of are wrapped around the experience here. But how do you get the balance between working hard and overworking? This is a big question which is asked all the way throughout university. Especially now, many of us will be working from home. It's really important to establish boundaries. A one-liner that I heard once was that you need to watch your body and not the clock. If your body and your mind is burnt out, then you have to take it easy. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to work and function at your full potential. So you have to watch your body and not the clock. You will always have time, but you must prioritize your physical and your mental health. You don't want to burn out in your first year of university. You've got more years to come after that. And so you really do need to pace yourself. It's just a reality of university that it only is going to get harder. But here are some tips for getting a healthy working life at university and getting the most out of your studies from my kind of point of view. I think you definitely need a routine. Everyone says about developing a routine and creating a space, which is very hard to do. It is a lot harder than they kind of let out. But kind of setting out a space, a specific workspace, whether that's in a public halls, whether that's in your kitchen, your bedroom, wherever that may be, just make sure that you have a designated workspace. Create a routine that sets you up for work, I will always say, do not start working in your PJs in bed. It just doesn't work, okay? At least try and get dressed for the day. Maybe pop on a bit of mascara. I mean, just a little bit of effort goes a long way with motivation. I think set a time to start and a time to finish as well. I think that's really, really productive. I think you know only yourself how you best work. So set those times accordingly to your kind of motivation and to how you know you work. If you know that you're more productive in the evening, then focus your main work time for then, and vice versa with the morning. I heard something once that someone said that a really good idea is to light a candle to like be like, this is the start of my work day. I mean, TK Maxx has some great candles. It might be quite an expensive routine to add in if you're not a candle fan, or if you have expensive taste. But kind of setting a candle is just kind of creates that, okay, I'm starting, here's the headspace. And definitely take breaks. Every 30 minutes at least, do a lap of your room. Another fun fact that I learned while I was at university is about fat burning enzymes. I did a sports science degree, and I'm pretending that I really still know what I'm talking about. But there were these things. So basically, we got told that you have fat burning enzymes which kind of just work naturally at your resting rate. And if you are sat down and sedentary for longer than like 20 to 30 minutes, they stop working, which terrified almost everyone. So I'm really sorry if there are kind of doctors and scientists who are completely proving me wrong, but I'm just going to stick with my guns and say that that's a correct fact. And just get up every half an hour, do a little lap, do a squat, do a lunge, and just kind of get your body moving before returning back to work. It works a treat, it really does. And kind of linking with that is getting enough sleep. Just please sleep. No one is going to tell you to wake up in the morning anymore or go to bed. So you're on your own in making this decision. I would highly recommend buying an alarm clock so that you're not just sat on your phone until the early hours of the morning, or as soon as you wake up in the morning, you kind of come onto it. I listened to a podcast, and a really interesting thing that I heard on there was that the kind of final 10 minutes when you're kind of falling asleep and the 10 minutes when you wake up is when your brain is really sensitive to stimuli. And so when the first thing you see is, oh, Boris Johnson's got COVID, or Donald Trump's got COVID, and you wake up in the morning and you hear about Brexit. I mean, this is me looking at BBC News day and night. Might not be the same for you. But kind of if that's the first and the last thing you're seeing in the day, it can have quite a detrimental effect on kind of how your brain's working for the rest of the day. So I'd recommend kind of resting in the 10 minutes before and after you sleep, and then not having your phone right by the side of your bed. Sleep's important, basically. Sleep is important. And kind of another one, which I'm sure you've all heard of, is time management. It's a thing. I think you need to get your priorities straight in the first year of university. If you know you have something due, don't start doing something else. One way or another, you're going to have to get it done. So you may as well just get it done. Something I would definitely recommend is at the start of each week, spend some time on a calendar, just kind of planning out a time to focus on each piece of work in your week. It allows you to visualize what you've got coming up and also what is most important on your radar. But don't spend like 3 days on your calendar. It's not an excuse to not do work trying to plan yourself. You've got like half a day, do that, and then move on and plan the rest of your week. It's a really kind of constructive and important thing to know that what you've got in each day. And kind of fourthly, lecturers' office hours. Knowing your lecturers is amazing. One of the best pieces of advice that I was given was to get as close to your lecturers as possible, for like academic reasons, and just kind of having constant conversations with your progress. Chat about your ideas with work, because if they think that you're slacking, they're not going to be as lenient towards helping you out. So if you're there, you show up, you meet with them and say, I have these ideas, this is what I have planned, you know where they are, then you're kind of on track to really getting that good advice and being really helped by them, which is the best kind of crutch that you can have at university. So kind of that's talking about friends and your studies, which are two things which just come alongside university. But lastly, and obviously in kind of my point of view, most importantly, is your faith. Your faith is going to have a major influence on everything that you deal with, that you come up against, the decisions that you make. you are at this point, it's a very unique point in your life, and it's when you get to decide for yourself what you believe, and then you get to explore this. My kind of testimony, I kind of went to university, I didn't know Jesus at all, I had no Christian family, no Christian friends, kind of went to Nottingham and just kind of lived the classic university lifestyle, got involved with everything that comes as a stereotypical university thing. And I kind of had a very flirt to convert experience. He's now my husband, which is lovely. Doesn't happen for everyone though. But he kind of messaged me, he was at university in Southampton. He said, oh, why don't you try out Alpha? And I was like, well, I fancy you, so I'm going to go. So I went to Alpha on my own in Nottingham, and completely out of my comfort zone. I knew nothing about Christianity at all, and kind of just took that step, took that leap, just to be like, well, this, I'm on a fresh slate. Let's see what kind of happens. And it was throughout my time going along to Alpha that I really started to discover who Jesus was, and it was like, and kind of blindfold came off my eyes, just one session. For those who don't know, Alpha is a course which basically allows you to discuss the big questions of life. You kind of go into small groups, and it kind of prompts you with different topics, like very subtle, very kind of just interesting things with experienced scientists, experienced historians, theologians, kind of different points of views of Christianity, and just teaches you more about that faith and allows you to discuss that wherever you're at in life. My group was filled with all sorts of ages, all sorts of beliefs, and I at the time I would say I was an agnostic. I had no idea about anything, and it was just an amazing space just to learn about faith. And I would say that I had a moment, kind of a blindfold just came off my eyes, and I really just realized how much kind of faith was in my life, how much Jesus was kind of working his way in everything I was doing, which was incredible. And then kind of came back to trying out church. I didn't get the privilege of trying out Christian Union when I was at university. I didn't know it was a thing, sadly. But kind of I joined a church, and from then on, my faith just grew and grew and grew. And I am where I am now, working for a church because of taking that step to kind of pursue something which I'd never learned about before. And so from that, I've kind of learned that Jesus is a transformer of lives. He just transforms everything. And something which we say at St. Mary's is transformed people, transformed places, which is really true. So it's an incredible thing to kind of pursue and to learn about. And his kingdom is here and it's now, and we can only aspire and work towards leading a life that mirrors how Jesus lived. And he was a leader, he's a friend, he's a ruler, and he's a comforter and everything. And he will be there in every space, every emotion that you go throughout your university experience. But he's championing you along the way. He's the one who's there with the little banner and the white flag going, yay, so proud, which we all need sometimes. But from personal experience, I really struggled and believe that I wasn't good enough to achieve anything. I gave myself a real low blow, thinking that no matter how much I achieved, I wasn't worthy of better grades, of getting promotions or anything kind of that would progress me on. Until one day when I think I was just crying in my uni halls, felt like I was going to drop out, was feeling really, really low. Because I was pushing myself so hard to achieve something, not for myself, but for my family, for friends, for image. I was like, I need to get a first class degree because I need to look this certain way. But God kind of spoke to me into that moment, and he told me how proud he was of me just for being me, which blew my mind, because I was like, gosh, well, if you're proud of me, what does it matter if anyone else thinks? Because God's proud of me. I was like, this is phenomenal. And it doesn't matter what grade I got. It didn't matter how well I was doing, what my family and friends thought of me because I didn't get a first class degree. But actually, if he was proud of me and he could see my heart and my intentions for exactly what they were and for exactly what I was suffering with, then that was enough. And I think something to remember is that you're never alone at university. God is walking alongside you the whole time. You have your friends, you have church people who are there to support you, to invest in you, to help you grow, and who just want to love and invest and journey with you through life. he's walking alongside you the whole way, giving you hope for a future and also for the next days to come, kind of taking it a day at a time. And making the most of uni life means thinking some of this stuff through. And we know from experience how being part of a Christian community can help give you instant friends and community, and helps you build those friendships gradually through growing in faith. So just some kind of tips for some ways to explore what you believe in at university. There are so many ways, whether it's just reaching out to a friend who has faith, or whether it's kind of actively doing something. And I know that there's things called explore groups, which are at the Christian Union, so that I know are going on currently now, or starting on the 15th of October. And these explore groups are just small groups which are gathering together. Yaz, Dan, Esther, Josh, everyone can tell you kind of more about what they are, and I'm sure you've heard about them already. But they are small groups which are gathering together just to discuss faith, I think, to discuss, to grow in faith and to build in friendships, build in relationships, and just a journey with each other in these small groups within your university kind of culture and within your university group, which are amazing. And then similar to this, like I described, kind of Alpha. We run Alpha, currently it's online at St. Mary's, and this is an incredible way to meet with people from all walks of life, completely all different ages, and just to talk about topics which are really personal, kind of big topics, like, is there more to life than what we have now? It's kind of the starting question, and just allowing people to share and to delve into different things. And then obviously there's CU, Christian Union, which is a phenomenal society which allows you to meet so many people from so many different walks of life, students from all around the place, to connect, to grow, to worship together, and to learn from each other from all different experiences and backgrounds. So those are kind of the three ways that I would recommend discovering more about faith if you're interested, or even just reaching out to a friend, reaching out to a person. I hope this has been really, really helpful. I'm going to be praying that for everyone listening, even though I can't see you, that you guys are thriving, and that you can succeed to the highest degree this year and in the years to come. But it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you guys today. Yeah, it's been amazing, and I hope it's been helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emma. That was really great. Lots of really useful advice there. Thank you. And also with your last part, I think that was really important. For not just freshers, but I think for everyone to understand and know. And I hope that freshers have been able to take something away from what you've said today. I thought it was really great and very encouraging. So thank you very much. Yeah, we've actually got quite a few questions. So we'll move on to the Q&A part. They're quite varying, some about faith, some about uni life. So we'll do some uni ones first. So you said about societies. So if you could go back to university, what society would you definitely join?
What a question.
Go back and choose any.
So, I don't know if this is following the crowd, but I lived with a couple girls who were like national swimmers, which was very hard for me. It was quite a hard thing to live with. But they basically both played water polo, because we had, it was a big kind of, what's the word when universities go against each other? Oh gosh, what's it called? When they go?
You mean the big sports league?
Yeah, what's that called when they compete against?
Bucks,
that's the one. So they basically had Bucks, and then they also had a massive league for water polo, and water polo was amazing. I don't know if you have it at Southampton, but that is 100% what I would have gotten involved with, because it just looked impossible. And I probably would have drowned after about 5 minutes, but I was always just watching on the sidelines like, that could be me, but I just didn't do it. I think it's because my friends were such high class swimmers. It wasn't something that I thought was accessible to me. So that is one thing that I wish I could go back and join in on, definitely.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we do have that here. I've never watched it, but it sounds very interesting.
It is ruthless. I mean, my friends were nearly drowned a couple times.
Oh my gosh.
Savage, especially the girls.
Interesting that you want to join that, but it sounds cool. Okay, another one is, well, this one's quite deep. So does getting a degree feel like a waste if it has nothing to do with your job now?
It's really interesting, because I think I definitely thought about that quite a lot. And my degree, so sports science, basically, I'm not sure if it's just the way that it happened with Nottingham Trent or whether it's everywhere, but kind of my degree didn't necessarily qualify me for anything specifically. So I learned loads of different things, like a little bit biomechanics, nutrition, physiology, and then came out of my degree like I now need to go into doing a master's or something extra to then become like an accredited whatever I wanted to be, which at the time I kind of left university and I was ready to leave university. I was kind of done. So I was like, I'm not going to go into do a master's. But I think actually my degree, I learned so many transferable skills, which were amazing. And I think university on its own is one of the best experience. I don't think it's necessarily the best years of your life. Like, I'm not going to vouch and say university is the best years of your life, because I don't think that's necessarily helpful advice. But I think it's one of the best experiences of your life, because you learn so much about how to deal with people of all different ages, how to deal in kind of academic scenarios, in more entrepreneurial scenarios, how to lead well. And I think I learned so many invaluable skills that I wouldn't have the job now if I didn't have those skills. So I think it's been an incredible progression from university to where I am. So still valuable.
Yeah, it definitely is. So we've got some different types of questions now. Can you think of a time when you were really led by God at university?
Definitely. I was at a church which was very kind of cool. I don't really know how to describe it. I wasn't very cool at university. I still don't really think I'm very cool now. Well, I'm not very cool now. But it was very, very cool. And I think I didn't really feel like I fit in. And it was quite a cliquey church, which was quite hard for me. And it basically, they moved campus, they like moved location of the church. And originally it was like 5 minutes away from me, ended up being about a 45-minute walk away, which was just awful. And this is when I'd kind of just found my faith and was going into my second year of university, thinking, oh my gosh, I could really get clicked, like kind of fit in and get plugged in. And then they moved, and I was really, really distraught. And I'd made no friends in my first year, any Christian friends anyway. That'd be quite sad if I made no friends in my first year of university. I did make some friends, I promise. Just no Christian friends. And then I actually did a talk at a school, because I'd just done a mission trip to Kenya and kind of came back to the school and was presenting it, and was saying to them about how friends are really, really invaluable, and how I've been struggling with Christian friends. And there was actually this, I think he was in about year 3, and he literally put his hand up and he was like, I think we should all pray for Emma to find some friends. And I mean, I didn't know whether to be embarrassed or like in awe of this child. But everyone basically prayed for me to have friends, because I was very much leaning out of going to church. And literally the next day I had a message from a girl who was up in Nottingham being like, hey, I remember you from last year, are you coming back to church this year? I kind of said to her, oh, not sure, it's too far away. And she just said, I would love to give you lifts to church, I live 2 minutes down the road from you, I'd love to take you there. And from then on, she helped me to get plugged in, because she was a young adults leader. I then got plugged in that way. And it was just a testament to God, just one, answering prayers, which weren't my own prayers, really. They were someone else's. But that is what led me down the route of like evident. The church is where I think I was meant to be leading in. And she actually became one of my bridesmaids, which was a lovely turn of events. So I think that was like a really big time of like, friends are so important and so key, especially ones that you know can invest in you well. Yeah.
Oh, that's really good. That's a really lovely story as well. Yes. Thank you. Next question. My flatmates don't really socialise together or with me. What advice do you have for starting to connect with them?
I think I can definitely vouch that was me at university. I think none of my flatmates, most of my flatmates were very socially quite introvert. They were very introverted, quite socially awkward. And so they didn't want, and I was just basically came in this like, oh my gosh, hi, like very overexcited, thinking that was what made friends, but it doesn't always make friends, which I've now learned. But I think one of the best ways is like, one-to-one, I think personal invitation, just being like, do you want to go and grab a coffee? Do you want to go for a walk? And I think kind of starting off in that way, kind of one-to-one, and it can be quite hard. It can be quite like tiring to do, because you're kind of socially exerting, trying to keep the conversation going. I think that the value of investing in that person and saying, I think it'd be really good if we went for a walk, if we were able to chat, if you kind of maybe made something and like knocked on the door and were like, oh, I've got a cake, as long as they're not like gluten intolerant, just check. Nowadays it's nuts. But I think definitely one-to-one is a really amazing way of meeting people, and it does take, again, like I said kind of in the talk, like standing out, like taking that step and being like, hi, I'd like to like initiate this conversation. But that, yeah, I think that's probably one of the best ways to connect with each person really, really well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just adding on from that, I can really relate to that at uni in first year. I was with people that were from Solent as well. So at the start, it was quite hard connecting with everyone. And just don't be afraid to get shut down. Sometimes you can try and offer them something or try and interact with them, and it doesn't go the way you want all the time, but you move on, and people really do appreciate the little things as well. I'll definitely say that. And we have one last question for you, Emma, and that is, a very relevant one. How do I get the balance between spending time with the people I live with and having alone time without feeling like I'm missing out?
Gosh, that's hard, because I suffer with massive FOMO. So I'm awful. And I actually used to, that was something which I've had to learn over the years, is how to kind of be quite disciplined and being like, actually, I can only give so much to these people unless I'm gaining from what God's giving me. So kind of reminding yourself that you like live out of the overflow. So like what your nature's like, how you choose to be, how you want to be intentionally with other people, I think comes from an overflow of, especially if you know God and kind of just gaining from him, or even just if you're sat on your own and you're just resting. I think you can't give to other people like intentionally and invest in them unless you have time to rest and kind of focus on yourself, which sounds really selfish, but actually you do sometimes need to be really selfish, because if your body's kind of shutting down, if you're thinking that you need to prioritize other people, that's when things start going a bit awry. So I would definitely say, I think there's no shame in being like, I'm just going to spend some time on my own, kind of saying like, I'm just going to spend a bit of time, just going to chill out on my own, have a really nice time, and actually just allowing yourself to step away. It's almost like, I don't know if you guys have seen that film Anger Songs and Perfect Snogging. I mean, if you haven't seen it,
classic.
It's classic. That elastic band theory of men, of like pulling away a little bit and then they come springing back. I feel like that sometimes is the thing, like if you kind of stepping away and being like, actually, I want to spend time just on my own, just kind of invest in myself, they will see that and think, they're not going to think, oh, she's really strange. They'll probably think, oh, fair enough. And then the next time you come out, it'll be more of like how have you been? Like, what's been going on? And I think that is quite hard to do. But I think if you can kind of get a daily rhythm, not daily, but kind of a rhythm of doing that, it can be really, really constructive for friendships or kind of whatever relationship you're having. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, and that's really good. It's so important to get that balance, or else you'll just wear yourself out to the point where you can't do anything anymore. Yeah. We have got one last question that's just come in, and it kind of leads on from this one we just spoke about, and it's tips for a good nighttime routine / God time.
Nighttime routine. I mean, I'm thinking like skin products. Got a load of skin products I can give you for a nighttime routine. Nighttime routine, I think, I'm going to be honest and say I'm not very disciplined myself. I have only recently, since being married, have I bought an alarm clock, whereas before I was very much on my phone, like not even doing anything. Like no one speaks to me at past 9 o'clock in the evening, so I was like, I don't even know what I was doing on my phone. But I think kind of nighttime routine, I think it's really good to kind of stay away from definitely looking at the news. Do not look at the news. I think trying to be quite cautious with, and actually I know that now on like phones you can actually set a timer for like you're not allowed on certain apps past a certain time. And I think just for mentality, kind of staying away from Instagram, because I think especially I personally struggle really badly with kind of self-esteem things on Instagram, and I think kind of with that being the last thing you see at night with something which is affecting you quite negatively, it can cause a lot of damage, to be honest, and I've kind of learnt that the hard way. and that's just me being completely honest and like vulnerable with kind of the things that I've like still currently going through. But I think definitely kind of shutting off from being on social media and kind of seeing the news, and just spending some time just before bed, just kind of, whether it's talking with an actual human being or kind of reading. I'm a big reader, amazing books out there at the moment, guys. And I think spending time with God is different for everybody. I think no one has the same relationship with God. Everyone is very, very unique. It's like how each person is with their mum. Like, everyone's relationship is very different. And so I think you can't compare yourself to someone else who finds most of their encounters with God through reading the Bible, or someone who's like a prophetic dancer. Like, if you're not a dancer, don't try and dance. Or no, do dance, but don't try and think that that's the way that you should be connecting with God. And I think that's something to explore, I think, is finding out how you encounter God. And I only recently started, I'm not artistic at all, but I recently just thought, I'm going to buy some watercolor paints and like some watercolor paper and just try it out, because I've never ever done anything like that before. And actually I find it really, really reflective and a really amazing time just to be in rest, and almost just inviting God into that space, being like, I'm just painting absolute nonsense with some really pretty colors, but it's nonsense, and I just invite you into this space. And sometimes that's all it takes to really gain from him. But yeah, like I said, there are so many different ways, and I think it's worth taking the time to figure out how you find God and how you can really seek him and hear him. That's kind of the first step, and then the second step is just being disciplined with that time. And even sometimes John, the vicar of St. Mary's, says, like, even just actually putting it in your calendar, which seems very religious and very like it's there, but actually seeing that and thinking, okay, I have this time set out, I have nothing else in this time, I'm gonna use that for this. So yeah, that would be my kind of 2 steps. Figure out how you best connect, and then to kind of set that time and be disciplined.
Yeah, and I think that links on to what we were saying earlier about having alone time. You can get really caught up in the chaos of uni, and it's so important to take that time as well as time with God, because it's so powerful as well, and really important for your faith as well. So I think that's all the questions we have, Emma, and it's 1:45 now. So I just want to thank you so much for doing this lunchtime talk with us. It's been great to hear from you, and I hope we hear from you again in the future. And I hope that everyone watching today has found this really encouraging and is able to take something away from what Emma has said. It'd be great to hear from you guys, let us know what you thought. Emma has spoken about that we have, I'll just plug over the exact date when they're starting, apologies, but go check out our social media for all the information on that. That is just where we will explore Christianity together, and you can ask any questions, absolutely anything. And we also have Unite on this Friday, which is just really exciting. It's been going well so far, so hopefully you guys can join us for that as well. And did you say that St. Mary's are doing Alpha at the moment online?
Yeah, so it started last week, but we always say that week 2 is the best week to start. And it's actually on this evening. I'm leading one of the groups with a great guy called Tristan, who you might have heard of it, a charity called Bridge the Gap, which basically connects with Alpha and football. So we're leading a table, and yeah, kind of sign-ups on the website, on St. Mary's website. But yeah, we're doing it this evening.
Yeah, and I've done Alpha before, and I think it's really great, and it's so good to have that community as well. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you haven't had lunch, go have a lovely lunch. Have a good rest of your day. See ya.
Yeah, bye guys.
Just stop now.